In the last video, I went over creating your Nuke project both structurally in Windows and making sure your directory structure was all following the correct protocols. And then also I kind of introduced setting up the project within Nuke and making sure that your frame rate and resolution and all those things are all set up the right way. The next thing I want to touch on is making your project universal. And by that, I mean making your project so that it opens up properly on any computer, within any hard drive, with any folder name, so on and so forth. Because ultimately, if you submit your project to me, for me to grade it, if I open it and I don't see the project, if I see a bunch of errors because the footage isn't loading properly, then essentially you're going to get a feedback from me saying that your project did not open correctly. Please correct the problem and submit it again. I won't grade or fix a project for you. So to avoid that stress in the first place and to make sure your project is working, I'm going to show you A, what to look out for, B, how to set it up, and C, how to test it, most importantly. So if you take the time to test it, there should be no surprises. It literally takes 5 minutes or less. So first thing to consider is structure. We've already talked about that in the last video. I'm not going to go over it again, but before we start the Nuke side, we've got to be confident that the images are in the right place and the Nuke files are in the right place. And in this case, I know mine are set up correctly, and there should be no problems in regards to the folder structure. So within Nuke itself, I'm just going to start Nuke up and open a file. So I'm going to open a comp. We've got a file here called Nuke Project Test. And everything is looking good. It's going to resize this window here. Okay, so this opened fine. I can see all my footages here. There's no errors. Everything is loading properly. So that means so far I've got the file set up properly in regards to this computer at least. So let's test it. Now let's kind of stress test it and simulate opening this on either another location or with another file name. Pretty much any change you make to the current directory structure will simulate opening it in a different location. So I'm going to close Nuke again. I'm going to go back to my folder, and I'm just going to step up to the project directory. So here's my project, Nuke example. I'm going to rename this folder to something else. It doesn't matter what, anything will do. If I call it Nuke example, I'm just going to change it to actually Nuke project test. Okay, so I've changed the name. It's the only thing I did. I changed the name of the project. So now let's see what happens when I open the Nuke file. So I'm going to go back, start Nuke one more time. Probably have to resize it again. I don't know why Nuke doesn't remember the size it was the last time you opened it, which is annoying. File, open comp. And once again, I'm going to navigate, to my project test. And it doesn't work. So again, the only thing I changed was the name of the folder. But again, because that's different now, that is exactly the same as me opening it on my computer at home on a different drive. Any change that happens could affect the project. So if you do that test, you rename your folder and open the Nuke file, and it doesn't work, then there's something wrong internally inside of Nuke. There's something that you missed. So one thing we've already touched on, but I'm going to triple check it. In the last video, I talked about in the project settings, so edit, project settings, we had to make sure that the script directory button had been pressed to generate this little bit of code. So if you come in here and this is blank, it just means that you forgot to click script directory and you need to do that. If this is populated, then obviously that's not a problem. So the problem is not here. If you see this string here, then you're good. The other thing to watch out for here is the name under no circumstances should you manually edit this. This is populated by the file itself. When you open the file, that was automatically filled out based on the correct file name and location. So you do not want to change that manually. Sometimes I find people, when something's not going right, they just start trying stuff. So I commonly see people try to navigate directly to a folder. Don't do it. It'll make things worse. So the only thing you should touch here is script directory. And if that's good, then the second place you need to look is right here in the footage itself. I'm going to clear this out with the white X, so there's got a blank slate here. So I'm going to double click on any bit of footage, doesn't matter. We're going to have to do the same thing to all of them. So I'll start with the AO because it's listed here first. And what's important is the path. So if I ever give you feedback that your file is pathed incorrectly, this is what I'm referring to, especially in Nuke. I may say the same thing in Maya, which would be a little different in terms of how Maya is pathed, but I'm going to do a separate video to talk about pathing in Maya. So in the file has the path, so that's the C:users _, yada, 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 yada. That's the path. That's where the file is located. And then at the very end of the path is the file name, ao_layer.exr. So that's the right file, and that's looking in the right place when I originally created it. But check here, Nuke example. It's still looking in the old project name. I renamed the project to Nuke project test, but it didn't update that, and it won't. If you do not manually change this, it assumes that this data is never going to change. So unless I happen to have the exact same folder structure on my computer as yours, which is almost impossible, it won't work unless you do one very important thing. And what we need to do is to make the path universal. And right now it is not universal. It is specific to my machine. So how do we make it universal? Very, very easy. The one part of our path that never changes in relationship to the project. So there, again, here's the project. So anything before that, oops, I just made a mistake there. Anything before the project itself, so all this is going to be unique to all of our computers. Yours is going to be different from mine. It's going to be different to your brother's. It's going to be different to your classmates. And again, you might even put it on a different hard drive. If you move this to a portable hard drive, this will be different. So this part is specific. We need to get rid of everything specific to your computer and your project. So that includes the project name. So pretty much everything before /images could be different for everybody. We get rid of that. So I'm just going to select everything before /images and hit delete. So what we're left with is /images /AO layer blah 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 blah. This part is universal because I've pretty much asked all of you to make sure that your renders are in the images folder. So if you're following your instructions and my instructions, the ones that I've given you very, very, very clearly, and we should all have an images folder with our renders inside that. So everything before that is going to be unique to you. Everything after that is going to be the same for everybody. So that's the universal part. So all we need to do is replace everything before images, which is specific to your computer. We need to replace that with a wildcard, which is again, a wildcard is just a character that tells the computer that everything to this point is represented by something else. And so in Nuke, the wildcard that we need is dot or period. So period goes before /images. So everybody should change that as soon as they read in footage. So period /images / whatever the image name is. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to hit enter. And see, as soon as I do that, it reappears. So what the period does is it references the project data. So if I hit S to bring this back up again, it's connected to this script here. This Python script is pretty much saying the Nuke script, which is what a Nuke file is called. We call it a file, but a .nk file or a .nc file is a Nuke script. So it's saying pretty much with this little Python code that the project directory is the directory that the Nuke script lives in. So our Nuke script is in this case, if I go back to my file browser, here's my Nuke script. Actually, no, it's this one, project test. So that script says, okay, what folder is that in? And it looks up and sees, it's in the Nuke project test folder. That's what that little script is for. It's to help tell Nuke where this project lives on your hard drive or the current hard drive. And that is one of the main reasons why you should never ever populate this manually, because this is driven by the script. So if you change this manually, you're going to break the connection between the footage and the script. So this automatically takes this and plugs it in wherever it sees a period. So if that changes, which it will when you open it on a different computer, by putting / in front of all your footage, / images, it will always know where to find it. Doesn't matter which computer or what you name your project folder. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to go through all of these one at a time, find / images, keep the / and select everything before it and replace it with a period and hit enter. And you can see it reappeared. There it is. Now nothing's happened here yet because the way Nuke works, it won't draw the comp until everything is fixed. So one at a time, I will fix those. / images, shadow. So this will be the shadow. Hit enter and it should change. If the error doesn't go away, that means your / is usually in the wrong place. Sometimes you forget the period or remove images by accident. Again, in order for it to work with our setup, it always has to say specifically / images / whatever the image name is or whatever the folder that the image is in. So one last one. There it is, / images. Select everything before it, replace it with the period. So now when I save this project, I'll just save it over. So it's the exact same file name as it was before. It's saved the / into the file. And we'll do our test again one more time. Before I do that, though, I want to just kind of give a public service announcement. Rather than fixing all these at the end, I really want you guys to get into the habit of, as soon as you hit R to read footage in, so I'll read in a... just going to go back to the project folder again. Documents, projects, blah, 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 blah. So many folders. Nuke project test. And yeah, I'll bring in a new file. I'll just bring in one of the HDRs. It doesn't really matter what the image is. I just want to have something new to bring in here. So I'll bring in the tunnel HDR file, hit open. What you guys should do is, as soon as you bring in new footage, whether you read it in with the read node or drag it in manually and drag and drop, the new footage will always, 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 by default, have its unique path, which is bad. So what you should always do is, as you bring footage in, go ahead and do the / right away. Make it part of your work, your process. Every time you bring footage in, you instantly change it to / images. Then you won't forget it, and you won't have any issues. So go ahead, save it again, and away I go. Actually, you know what? Just to prove a point, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to read that in fresh. There it is. Well, different file, but whatever. You get the point. I'm actually not going to change. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave this C:\\. And it's going to be looking for the Nuke project test folder. These, however, are going to be looking for dot. And dot is, okay, I'm going to get my information from whatever this says. and this will automatically update, like I said, as you open the file. So I'm going to save it, close it, open it fresh, but I want to test again. So like I said, in order to test a Nuke project, all you got to do is change the name of it. So in order to test it now, because I set that project up with this name, in order to test to see if it's universal, I need to change the name to something else. Now, you guys are supposed to be submitting this to me with your last name, first name. So I'll do that. Oops. Project name. So now I've renamed the project. So now let's go ahead and open it and see what happens. I don't know why it's taking longer to load Nuke than usual. There we go. Open the comp. Gotta go to the folder. There's my renamed folder, but the comp is still in there, same structure. So once again, I'll open up the project test folder and see what happens. And you'll notice everything with / open fine, because it uses the script in the project directory and it's getting its information from here. And because this is changed, because it gets it automatically from wherever the file is or whatever it's named, it then takes the script and plugs that data into each of these that I've had the /. The one that I forgot to do that with, however, is still looking for the old project name, Nuke project test. So it's not going to find it because that doesn't exist anymore. I changed it. So if I just / images on that one, you can see it reappears. So this is something that you guys need to make sure that you're triple checking before you submit your work. And again, the easiest way to foolproof it and make sure that it's functioning properly is, as a last test before you submit it to me, rename your project folder and just open the file again. And if it works, you're good. If it doesn't work, then 9 chances out of 10 you forgot the / references, or you put the / in the wrong place. So again, it should always be, to sound like a broken record, / images / aolayer.exr / images / blah. It'll be different for every file name, obviously, but the folder that they live in should be the same. Now, I do also, before I finish the video, I want to also say that I say always, that's for this class in this project with this pipeline. When you're out in the real world, each project is going to have its own naming conventions, its own pipeline, and you will have to conform to it. And this may be slightly different. It might not be / images. It might be / assets. So, but as long as you're aware of what the naming conventions are and how the wildcard works, you're going to be good to go.